don't know if I told you this, Mike, but I know Ricky from high school.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, we go way back to like sophomore year. We worked on some stuff too. He did like a little music video for me when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
And then
Under the Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That's cool.
And
Forgot about it.
And then we also did some. He's always directed like little short films and scripts, and so we've done some little just kind of stuff like that too together.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then and then Ricky, I know Mike from work. We
I don't know this man.
How long have y'all worked together?
2 years, 1 year.
We were always talking about movies and comic book heroes and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we just decided to start a podcast.
Yeah. It's been we got 3 months, right?
It's gonna be a year, actually.
Oh, is it already that close?
Yeah, next month it'll be a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. I think it's a great idea to have like a movie podcast because I'm super excited to be on this.
We're really confused. Like Universal Soldier isn't that hot of a property, so I'm like, why are people watching this? And we were theorizing, I think yesterday or the day before, like maybe people were just looking for the movie and they clicked on us and that counts as a view, but that also doesn't really correlate with the amount of subscribers we're getting.
Yeah. We like, since that
we're very confused.
Once we release, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I think it's just because I have a YouTube channel too, and I have the same thing where like I have a lot of like little videos and stuff like that, and then one video, like it's not my best video, it just somehow blew up for some reason, and I don't have that many subscribers, so I think it's just one of those things where people find
is it random?
It's not totally random. I mean, there's like this hot girl in there, so it's not that random. But one of my friends, she played a vampire, and she's Asian, and she's very good looking, and I think that's had a lot to do with her playing a vampire and her being Asian and beautiful and all that. It just I don't know, it just somehow clicked, and people love hot Asian vampires, I guess. I think Universal Soldier is actually a pretty badass movie, and y'all probably just nailed that podcast and probably did really well, and people just probably really gravitated towards it.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah. Because
I'd rather have had like a hot Asian vampire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe we can get her on the podcast.
Hi everyone, this is John here with Mike.
Hi.
Today we got a guest. His name is Ricky. And
hello.
And I don't know, Ricky. I know you have a YouTube channel. You just want to kind of plug that and just say something about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So my YouTube channel is Blame the Movie. I've had it for a while. It hasn't been updated. I've been off doing other things. But if anyone's interested in looking into that, I do have short films with my friends and stuff. And John, I believe you're in another short film of mine. I'm not sure if it's on my YouTube channel, but it's just spelled BLAMEDAMUVEE, Blame the Movie. And I'm just a big movie buff. I like making films and writing films, and trying to make that my next goal in life.
Cool.
I've always just been interested in that, but known John forever. I'm just happy to be here. Talk about Tenet.
Yeah, happy to have you on too, man. So Tenet, I think a good way to start getting into this is I guess just we should just say what it's about, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. Time voluting. I don't know. Like it's. I give up.
It's
Somebody else go.
It is about time travel. That's a big part of it. And I don't know, maybe would you want to say kind of what it's about, Ricky?
Well, I mean, I think it is in that category of time travel films. It's for me, and I know Christopher Nolan has said in interviews, it's not a time travel film. It's more of I guess like a reversal in chronology. I can't even say the word.
Chronological.
Yeah, chronological order. There's definitely it's almost like you're hitting a reverse button on your VCR, DVD player, whatever, and you're literally living backwards through those moments. So it's a little different from your conventional time travel movie where you can just go back
and forward, and it's one of those. It does take over that whole idea of you being in control of time as opposed to traveling through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's cool.
It's kind of
really
scary.
Cool.
It's kind of scary that way.
Yeah. If you really think about it too, it's I kind of like how the little rules or the subtle hints that they give you about the rules of it. How if you're in verse and you're moving backwards,
it already happened.
Yeah, it already happened. So it's free will versus free will versus faith. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're the protagonist. So it does follow one guy named he's a CIA agent. I don't know. Do you remember his name in the movie?
The protagonist.
Black man.
He's a John David Washington. Yeah, John David Washington, the actor.
Yeah.
What was his name?
So in the movie he doesn't have a name.
He doesn't.
He's called the protagonist.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
It follows him through throughout the whole movie, and he's kind of I wasn't sure if he was a CIA agent. He
was.
It was kind of like in the beginning where it reveals that he is like a secret agent. And then he's kind of a nobody, like like he doesn't exist basically. He's like at that level of agent.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of discovering this new inverted time that concept that's being weaponized from someone that's in his timeline, and then also in the future, from the future. So he's him, and there are people who are trying to figure out what's going on. The antagonist, his name is Sator.
Sator,
played by Kenneth Branagh. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but he's Branagh. Okay, and he's like a Russian. He's playing a Russian guy, and he's the one who's communicating with the future, and he's trying to. You find out he's trying to end the world, and
pretty much.
And so he's interesting. I think he did a really good job, actually, too. By the way, as a villain, like you really don't like this guy. And then there's a few other big characters that like Robert Pattinson. He plays Neil.
Yeah, dude, he's great in this movie.
It was
he's pretty fun.
And then Elizabeth Debicki, who plays Kat, and she's Sator's wife. And
skinny lady.
Yeah, skinny tall. She was so skinny, right?
Yeah. She's like very lean, and I'm like, get some meat on them bones, lady.
Right. Yeah, and so yeah, those are the main. I think those are the main ones that pop up throughout the movie. And so the way that Robert Pattinson's connected, he's helping out the protagonist, and throughout basically the whole movie, and then Kat is kind of like the inside person to Sator. That the protagonist uses as well and works with. That's basically it in a nutshell. CIA agent working with some people to try and save the world from a Russian oligarch named Sator.
Yeah, but also time travel.
Yeah, and there's all that.
Did you guys notice? Okay, I noticed this right off the bat. I don't know if anyone else did. I might be reading too much into it. The name Satyr, right?
Okay.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
What is it?
The guy with the goat legs, right?
Satyr.
Oh, really?
Is that the Roman myth guy?
Possibly.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's also known as Sower, which is a minor Roman agricultural deity or cult title.
This might be reaching too far, but also in Inception, he wasn't really an antagonist, but the Japanese guy's name was Saito.
Huh.
I don't know. I made that connection. I wanted to see what you guys thought.
Interesting.
I have no thoughts on it. I'm just like, it's just an observation.
That's something I want to look more into, because I know I'll just bring this up real quickly, because there's so the Satyr Square is it's basically like a 5-word Latin palindrome.
Yeah.
It's so on the Satyr Square, it's on there. It's Satyr, there's Arepo, there's Tenet, there's Opera, Rhoda, and those are all Satyr, the villain, Tenet, the film. Opera is in the beginning. Arepo is I believe Arepo is the man that Cat.
Oh yeah,
the Vicky.
Yes, in the beginning,
some type of relationship. With the painting, and then
that's right. He made the fake painting.
Yes.
Yeah. Just wanted to throw that out there, and it has something. I think it was found in the ruins of Pompeii, which is also interesting, because that's the son Maximilian. He was going to Pompeii.
79 Pompeii.
Yeah. So there's a lot of layering, and which I mean, it's very common in Nolan's films, with all this these layers, and everything kind of clicks in a very synchronized way.
Yeah. His movies do have like a certain kind of like, it's like a box of Legos he just threw on the floor.
Yeah.
And he's like, this all makes sense, but you're gonna have to pay attention.
One of the things
read the book.
The word Tenet as well, I thought really brings the whole there are all these visual things that it's about, but I think Tenet really explains what it's about kind of underneath, at least a big part of what it's about underneath. And it says a principal belief. This is a definition of Tenet: a principal belief or doctrine generally held to be true, especially one held in common by members of an organization, movement, or profession. So, I really think that. So basically, as the movie goes on, it almost seems like Sator is ahead of the game, because he knows how this time travel works, and he knows how to use it to his advantage, to get what he wants, while everyone is just 5 steps behind him throughout the whole
bullshitting
movie.
Around. Yeah.
And trying to figure out, some people are lying to the protagonist to try and get their own, people are just like lying to each other, and the protagonist is figuring things out, so he's got to sift through the lies and find out what's true, and as an audience member, you're being taken along, for the ride. So yeah, I think the Tenet is I don't know if I'm getting to this point too early, but you just see how the protagonist, who's kind of being thrown into this, trying to figure everything out. Neil, his friend, spoilers, which you find out is actually from the future. And then Kat, who is this hopeless, kind of abused wife, depressed, and she just thinks, she's really not going to have a life, with her son, but you see that they all kind of, and the protagonist kind of, helps spark this, belief that, they can change, they can take control of their lives, and especially with Kat, you see like he really inspires her to try and hope and reach for freedom and the life with her son that Sator's keeping her away from, and so you see, like, by the end of the movie that, like, they all, it's just, they all believe that they could essentially make a difference and save the world, and and I thought that was cool. I thought that was, it was kind of, once it got to the end is when it really clicked in my head. I was like, oh wow, well, that's really neat. Like, these people who, and I think that's what, I don't know, I think that's what Nolan was trying to say ultimately. It may seem hopeless, for instance,
and
but
I think he says that with like a lot of his movies, at least the last 5 movies.
Right, like Interstellar, Inception.
Interstellar was the same. Inception,
Batman, the trilogy, all of them, basically.
All of them, yeah. So I think, I don't think you're wrong. I think you have a good idea of, like, he's got something to say.
Yeah, I thought it was neat how he said it through this movie, because it was different for him. This is a different movie, I think, for him in some ways. Mm-hmm. But in the same way, like you said, it's with this theme of like the human will, and and then some science fiction, some mathematics, and faith all together. That there can be, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
And those things don't offend each other. They don't overlap in a bad way. Like, that stuff coexists.
I like how Nolan doesn't. A lot of his films, I agree on some elements. I feel like some of his movies are more specifically about one thing, or overall. Like Interstellar, for me, felt like it was more about love and the power of love and time. And Dunkirk felt more of like a survival film. It felt more.
Yeah, that was a weird one for me. I could see that as not a Nolan movie.
But I do feel like there's a lot of those common threads in this movies. But I like for one, being faith and time and love and all of these common threads throughout. I think love was very tailored to Interstellar, and people would.
Yeah.
I was telling John the other night too, which is kind of interesting, is that Nolan started off his career. He made Following, which was like a no budget movie.
Yeah.
For like $6,000. And he wrote that, and he ended up basically the same way Robert Rodriguez made El Mariachi.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they made the same movie again, but like a little bit bigger.
Oh yeah, with Memento, which is another interesting point, is that his brother Jonathan Nolan, who's very successful.
Oh yeah, he's a writer and he's directed. Didn't he Wally? He did Wally Pfister's film.
Transparent, or
I didn't see it. Transference or
something.
Whatever that Johnny Depp movie was.
Yeah, I never got to see it either. But yeah, no, he's like Jonathan Nolan is. I feel like he's a big part of Christopher Nolan's success in a lot of ways.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the one that came up with the idea with Memento, and he was writing a short story for Esquire, which was called Memento, or I think it was Memento Mori or something. And Nolan loved the idea, and he said, "Hey, can I go write a screenplay on this?" And I think around the same time as Jonathan Nolan was finishing up his short story, Nolan was finishing up his film Memento.
Oh.
And so in a way, it was like, Jonathan Nolan gave him the idea to do it. Nolan went out and executed it. And then The Prestige, I know The Prestige is based off a book. I believe there was another writer, but I'm missing another film. Insomnia was actually a remake. I think it was.
It was a remake? I didn't know that.
Yeah, with Al Pacino and Robin Williams.
Yeah. I saw it, and they're just like in bed and talking on the phone.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the point I'm getting at with all these movies is that he's always had like writer help, and I think even with Interstellar, I think the exception of Dunkirk and Tenet, and even in Inception, all of his films have been heavily influenced by his brother or David Goyer, or based off of some existing IP.
Yeah.
And Interstellar was actually going to be a film that was directed by Steven Spielberg. Jonathan Nolan wrote that for
Spielberg.
For Spielberg, and there was supposed to be aliens.
Oh, wow.
I read the original script, and there was a lot of aliens, and it was very ET-esque, and
that would make more sense.
Yeah, it was definitely a Spielberg movie, and I don't know if you get that vibe too.
I do.
I mean, I got that vibe too when I saw it. But
there's a lot of exposition. There's a lot, too much.
Yeah, there's a good amount of it. I mean, it's definitely one of those. It felt like one of those Christmas movies you go watch around. You take your family, go see it, and it's
you just
immersive experiences.
It's just a traditional movie.
Yeah, like
I
one
guess
of those big Ron Howard or Steven Spielberg tentpole movies that it comes out around Christmas, and it's just something that the whole family goes see. That's the vibe I got from Interstellar.
I remember you telling me that Inception, like the whole dynamic of Leonardo DiCaprio's character with the wife, and that was actually largely influenced by Leonardo DiCaprio, like to Nolan, right?
Yeah. Okay, so how do I know all this? I read, so Nolan came up with, there was a writer that came out with a book, and he basically, did a lot of interviews with Nolan. He's known Nolan for years, since Memento. and I forgot his name. His name's Michael Shore, I think. And he came out
Mike
with
Shore. What?
Yeah.
The guy from the... No, I don't believe you.
He wrote this book called The Variations of Nolan, and it's such a great book. It talks in depth about Nolan's life, his upbringing, a lot of extensive interviews from since he made Memento all the way present time, and he was saying that he basically got the idea of Inception one night when he was in boarding school, when he was, I think, in boarding school, and he would listen to music at night and like instrumental music in his bed, and because he went to like an all boys school, and I think this was like on high school time for him. He came up with the idea, and I forgot what it originally was about, but it was about like time, like dream thieves. It had it had a way different spin on it, and he said it took him a good amount of time before he developed it. I think it took him, like, I guess in his adult life, it took him 10 years to finally figure out everything. But Leonardo DiCaprio wanted to do the movie, and but he worked with Nolan, I think, for the better part of a year to try to figure out like the emotional element to it, because it was lacking that. And even Nolan said that he was having issues with it; he couldn't get it right. And Leonardo came in and helped him write in the whole little subplot of him trying to get back to his family, to his kids, about his wife, kind of being stuck in the dream world and not believing her own reality. So she takes her life, and it just creates this whole parallax of layers the characters have to go through. But I mean, it's crazy how Nolan is able to do a lot of this, on his own. But I feel like for the most of his career, which is a great thing, I mean, he's had a lot of help, with his brother, with David Goyer, with existing IP. And I feel like Tenet, in a lot of ways, is one of, even Dunkirk, he got a lot of testimonials, people that were actually in the Battle of Dunkirk. So he had a lot of stuff to pull from. But with Tenet, this is his first, I would say, since the first movie that he made following, this is the first movie that he actually, did all by himself in the writing department. And which is interesting, because I know, John, you were talking about how this movie feels very different in tone, and it just feels like Nolan's reinventing himself.
Yeah.
Or he's pretending to be like a different director so that
That's what it, and I even mentioned this to Mike too, that some of the scenes, and I did mention to you too, Ricky, that it's almost seemed like a budget film, like the way it was filmed in some parts. And that's what it made me think of.
I wouldn't say claustrophobic, but it does seem like it was filmed on a studio set.
Okay.
There was,
if that makes sense.
There was one scene that makes me think of this. So the protagonist, he's a new actor to me. I don't know if he's been in anything else.
Robert Pattinson?
No,
John David.
Yeah, him. He was in anything else?
Yeah. So John David, he's like, I want to say he's around 35, 36. Denzel Washington's son.
Okay.
I forgot what he did, but he used to play for the Seahawks for the better part of his 20s. I'm not a sport guy. I'm just putting that out there. But I know he was in the NFL for the Seahawks for a little bit, and then he made a few like Netflix movies. He was also on Ballers. That's kind of how he got his start. It's like an HBO show with The Rock. And I think Nolan had saw that and was interested in him. But what he really got him, on the radar was a film he did with Spike Lee called Black Klansman. And I think that's when Nolan was really interested in him.
Okay.
I'm I'm talking about Nolan like I know him, but I don't. But I just it's a lot of his. I've watched a lot of his interviews and read his books and stuff like that. So I kind of that's where I'm pulling my information from.
So him as an actor made me his acting, especially at the beginning, and me. This is me for the first time because I did see it again, and the first time seeing it, he seemed like a new actor. Like he didn't. There were things that he was doing as an actor that made me think like, yeah, he's like not a new actor, but he's not. He's at that level where he's not. Um, like he's not at the. Didn't seem so natural. Like not everything he said and his movements didn't feel as natural as like as a more what's it called like a more experienced actor.
Yeah.
So that was my first kind of impression of him in the movie. So that kind of like led me to think like, okay, well, he's using a new actor. He's not going for the big names like he has, for some of his biggest movies. DiCaprio. There's what was his name, Matthew McConaughey, and then Christian Bale. Those are the ones that I'm most familiar with. But so I was like, okay, so this is different. And then there was a fight scene when they first when him and Neil, when the protagonist and Neil, they enter the airport security place where they're trying to get the painting.
Oh yeah,
the repo paint. Yeah. And so they stumble upon the time machine there, and so there's that first kind of like fight scene going on, and it's all inverted. It's like a reverse fight and an inverse fight, I guess. And so that fight, actually, if you notice, some of it looks funny, and because one of the guys is going in reverse, and the protagonist's character is going forward, and it's just the way it looked. It was like that scene looked kind of funny, and I was like, I think there was some ways that they could have maybe even put in some what's it called, like some sound effects on the punches and stuff that might have actually made it feel a little more like there was a threat level there, as opposed to, because it almost looked like they were kind of like patting each other when
really?
Yeah, like when I saw it twice, and each time I saw it felt like they were almost just patting each other in that scene. So there was stuff like that. Go ahead.
Do you think it was because of, like, I feel like the way he mixed his score in this movie, with a lot of his movies, I feel like he mixes his dialogue and his sound effects a lot lower than where his music's actually at, and maybe that might have had an effect where the sound effects weren't just registering, so it just seemed like, like it's just kind of like, it's just visual, you know what I mean, where it's not
right.
Where you're not getting that sonic punch, you're not getting the sonics with the audio, I mean with the visuals, so it just seems like, oh, they're not really fighting. But maybe if the sound effects were increased a little bit, it would have like connected. Do you think it had something to do with sound, or was it?
I do. Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. If you would have, because when they were touching, like, because they were blocking each other and trying to hit each other so they were blocking each other with their arms, and it just kind of like sounded like, it sounded so soft, like they were like, like there was like they were just brushing, like their clothes were just brushing on each other, not like physically like hitting each other. Yeah.
I think that's interesting, because I felt the same way too about it. Even though I'm a huge fan of it and everything, I noticed that with a lot of, even with Interstellar, like when they're in the spaceship and they're clicking buttons and they're talking, everything's really, it's in the very, like, it almost seems like they're using the audio from the camera in a way where it's not, it's just, it's very faint, like what they're saying, but the music is just so much like heavier, it's louder. And it just kind of has this effect where it's like, where you're missing a lot of that. You know what I mean? Some movie like David Fincher, for instance, I feel like his audio's mixed really well, where you hear all these sounds. You go, with the girl with the dragon tattoo, when Daniel Craig's character walks into the publishing office that he works for, you just hear everything going. You hear all the sounds, the office, everything. He talks, it's loud. It's like it's front and center. And with Nolan's movies, I feel like his audio, and just his more recent films, his audio has become more experimental as he moves forward. I feel like he mixes a lot of his stuff real low and just lets the music kind of transport you into this. I guess it's another point that I want to make too, but maybe I should bring it up later. But yeah, I think it has a lot to do with his influence from like the silent era, and he's been, he said it on record where he gets a lot of his basic essential, I guess, meat and potatoes from the silent era. He gets a lot of influence. I think he called it in one interview his basic principles of filmmaking. So I think in a lot of ways, Nolan is trying to make these complex ideas more accessible to people in a visual way, with just with music and visuals.
I can see that. Yeah, and throughout this film, like his others, there's always this. Well, I guess this one I didn't know he was pulling from Roman mythology.
Yeah.
But I've always he always one of the things, his impressions to me, is that he always likes to make it feel like this is the audience's world, like the world they live in. He wants, at least to me, like in a lot of the movies I've seen, he always wants to bring you in to where the world you're seeing on the screen that he's showing, like you can visual, like it almost feels like it's very close to your world, and outside the theater. And so with this movie, I feel like he does that again. But I felt and I think he does. It was interesting seeing the agents or the protagonists interacting, trying to get information, extract information, and from weapons dealers and other people like that. I found that it was. I feel like Nolan didn't do that well of a job in this movie with that, because it almost felt unbelievable, the protagonist getting this information and interacting with people in the way he did. Like I got that sense that it almost felt too unreal,
Yeah, I know what you mean, because with the Batman films, right, there's always that element where, I know with like the Dark Knight, for sure, there was some stuff that was like, oh, this is a little cheesy, like, but for the most part, it's like Nolan tricks you into believing that you are in this world. Like this is like an interpretation of reality, or like a heightened reality where this stuff could exist.
Yeah.
And then there's this fantastical element to it that we just kind of, like the whole time travel thing. That's so, like, I don't even know what to say about. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you can't. I feel like Nolan couldn't make this movie 10 years ago, because in a way, I feel like Inception holds up a little bit better, because I feel like it's grounded more in a reality where it could actually exist, where people could put you to sleep, give you a sedative, and into your mind, and basically manipulate your dreams. I feel like that's more of a that's more, I would believe that versus like this whole this inverted way of thinking, because in a way it's kind of silly if you really think about it. I mean, it's like when they were coming out of the airport, when they meet up again in that fight scene, and the fight scene makes a little bit more sense why the other guy was acting, doing the things he was doing. Like when they're reaching for the gun, he's basically like crawling on his back and he's trying to get to the gun, and then the protagonist kicks the gun and stuff. The first time you see that fight, it's a little like, oh, why is he doing this and why is he doing that? And you see it all kind of come into play that second fight. You're like, oh, and I think the music too is like, in that first fight sequence, the music's reversed, and then when they fight again, it's more of it's moving forward or whatever. It's just to talk about that real quick. The fight scenes and even the title Tenet, it all plays. It's all very like visual in a way, where it's like the whole concept could be explained just in that fight scene. One guy's moving forwards, one guy's moving backwards. And there's technology that's able to do that, and that's really all you need to know. And even I think there's the scientist character in the beginning, the woman. She was saying, you gotta just feel it. You can't, basically you can't overthink it. You just gotta feel it. And in a lot of ways, that's how this movie can kind of hold up, is that you can't really look too much into it because it is a spy espionage movie. And with a lot of spy espionage movies, there's a lot of like quick cutting, and there's a lot of, especially with the Sean Connery and the Daniel Craig Bond films, they'll be in one location and they're in another location. You kind of have to fill in the blanks there a little bit. And I think that's what Nolan was trying to do as well. Is trying to like kind of just give you this really quick, fast-paced espionage thriller with this inverted, because we were talking about it too, how like spies originally were very secret, before they became like James Bond and started fighting, and especially with the Bond that we have now, there's a lot of that where it's just like Bond is just a brute, he's in there fighting, you see a lot of that, which is part of the spy genre. But at the same time, I felt like spies were more secretive. They weren't supposed to get caught. That was the original MO. And there's this Fritz, what's his name? Fritz Langford or something. He's done he was from the silent era. He made this movie called Spies. And it's it's a weird movie. It's a long movie. I haven't even seen all of it, but some of the images that they showed in that were they basically show like a bureau of very like cryptic imagery of a bunch of people just walking all together. Like they're all walking in this one big old room, like they're at a train station or something, and they're all spies, and they're all going in different paths. They all got different missions. They're all going through different doors, and it's very synchronized in a way. But I feel like that can kind of sum up what Nolan was trying to do, because I know that was one of the movies that influenced him on this movie, was that there's all this stuff happening, but you're not able to see it. You're not able to see it because this is the future of espionage, basically. And I felt like that's what Tenet is. That's how it's like you could have made this spy espionage movie with anything else. It could have been in space, or it could have been. But I felt like he paired these two concepts together, very well in a way. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it took me a while to kind of see that. But
yeah,
it's one of those movies that wraps you in there really well.
Yeah, when you said the spy, I remember when we were talking about it a couple of days ago, you did say spy, and I was like, yeah, and it clicked. I was like, yeah, you know what? He is a spy. Like a part of me didn't, like it is like that, like a James Bond-ish character, but not James Bond, but he is a spy. And it didn't click with me until later. And once you said that, I was like, oh, okay, that's a different approach, to that kind of story and character.
Yeah, I just think I forgot what my original point was. I know I kind of went on a tangent there. But I love this movie, so I've seen it. This is probably the most watched film I've ever seen. I don't even want to know how many times I've seen it, but I know it's at least 20 times. And
at least 20?
Yeah, at least 20 times.
Oh, wow.
Like when it came out in the theaters, I saw it in IMAX like 3 times, I think. And then I saw it just the regular theater a few times, and I was going out with different friends, and I was like, oh, you got to see Tenet. I took my brother to go see it, and people were like, well, why do you want to see it again? You've seen it this many times. And I'm like, I don't know. I love everything about it. I love the music, and I love the acting and the way he shot it and everything. And they shot it in like 7 different countries, which is crazy. Like they were in the book, they were talking about how they were like a traveling circus. They would just, they go to India and they pack up, and then they'd be in Oslo, and then they just pack up and go to all these in England, and they were just basically knocking out this film. And Nolan shot this movie really quickly. I think it was like 100 and something day shoot.
Wow.
Which seems like a lot, but I mean, they cover a lot of ground. This is like almost a 3-hour movie, and they covered a lot of, a lot of ground. But there's so much in it. It's so dense, and that's the thing that's great about it. That it holds up really well after watching it. Even after watching it as many times I've seen it, I'm still realizing little things in it, and there's no other director that really, in the modern time, that does that. I mean, I know Marvel and, like probably Dune, IPs that exist and they have a whole team behind, a lot of the Marvel movies, they pre-visualize them. They have like a rough animation of the whole movie before even they have a director or even a writer. And Marvel and Disney, they have their own formula. That's no new thing there, but it's crazy because Nolan is by himself. He came up with this by himself, and there was no, he doesn't have a whole team behind him. I mean, he has a team, but not the way that, it's not a big old Marvel or Disney studio that's helping him make these movies. It's all coming from his brain, and that's why I thought it was interesting, because he has help. He's had help from Jonathan Nolan, David Goyer. He's done a remake. He's done a book adaptation. He's done a big existing IP like Batman. But I feel like as he gets older and stuff, he's branching off into more of his own ideas, and he's really putting those forward. Like the only reason Nolan was able to do Inception was because he did The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight made like $1 billion, right? And so the studio's like, well, what do you want to do next? And he's like, well, I want to do this movie about dreams. Those are big risks to take, but he was willing to do it because at that time Nolan was like untouchable. He basically reinvented the superhero genre.
He did,
for like a whole new era.
Right, and they've still been trying. They're still referencing that. I mean, even going darker in some of the Marvel stuff, and then even the DC stuff too. Trying to go back to that kind of darker, realistic element as well. And were you saying that the budget, was this his biggest budget he's had on a film, or was it just?
Yeah. I think this one was 300 million, which is 300 or 250. It was around 253 million, 300 million. But even Dunkirk, which you would feel like you would need a lot of money to make a war movie, I mean, he did that for 150 million, which was kind of cheap compared to this movie. This feels like there's more talking and more like isolated things, but I think most of the budget went to the traveling costs. And this is, I mean, ever since Dark Knight. Oh yeah, they actually blew up that. What was it, 737 or?
It was something like that. That was cool. I like that they used a real plane, man. I was really happy to see that. Like in any Marvel movie or whatever, it would be a fake plane.
CGI.
But yeah, he used the real thing, and I was like, that's cool, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of him just doing practical, effects, right? It's great because we don't really see a lot of that now. It's like, I'm not trying to knock. Yeah, I mean, if you tell a story on any caliber and it's great and you use CGI, or use stop motion animation, or like with the Mandalorian, they really have a combination of effects departments. They have the volume, which is like a room, basically like a mushroom room that has a LED 360 screen, and they can shoot whatever they want in there, all types of sets via virtual, which is great, and then they have CGI components mixed in with that stop motion animation and miniatures, and that's great. I feel like those, you're using the history of like the Star Wars franchise to kind of create your films and use new technology like the volume. And if you haven't seen like the behind the scenes of Mandalorian, it's definitely a watch. I know it's on Disney, how they made those movies. But with Nolan does a lot of, he tries to kind of steer away from using technology, and he'll use rear projection. So they use a lot of rear projection where they'll set up screens, and then they'll put for instance, the Interstellar ship. They put the Interstellar ship in a big old warehouse, and there's screens all around it, and they would project the images of space or the wormhole or whatever outside, so that the actors inside the cockpit can react to it naturally. And they wouldn't really enhance it or anything. They just kind of shot in camera that way. With the Batman movies, they used a lot of miniatures on the Batman movie, like when they blew up the Batmobile and the Dark Knight in Chicago, I guess the under roads.
Oh yeah.
They blew up the Batmobile. That was totally a miniature. They just made a large scale of that, of that area, and they just blew it up. And then, tipping over that 18-wheeler, and there's just so many great examples of where Nolan has done things practically. And it's not that he doesn't use CGI, because he does, but he uses it just very sparingly and very minimal, just to kind of finish the shot or to complete the whatever he's trying to get across the screen, which is great. I mean, we need more of that, I think, because he shoots only on film and large format, and a lot of people shoot digital, but I feel like there's more of a grain, there's more of a texture, there's more like that moment where Nolan and Pattinson are sitting down, and I'm not Nolan, John David and Pattinson are sitting down for the first time, and they're meeting each other, and they're having
in the restaurant.
Yeah, they're having a little friendly banter. You can really see the sweat on their faces, like this. You could tell, I'm sure India. I've never been to India, but I'm sure there's parts of India that are real humid, and it just kind of.
Oh yes. That's right. Okay.
But with digital technology, you would be able to just kind of clean them up and make them look cool or whatever. And I feel like film, in a way, has a higher resolution. It kind of captures. That's what Nolan was talking about too. Is that when you shoot on film, especially on a bigger format, like they were shooting on 65 millimeter film, and they were shooting on 70 millimeter film, which is those are big.
That's expensive too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the money went towards that too, and the traveling and having these really good actors in there, and blowing up a plane, and
I want to say,
and there's a lot of.
Go. What's that?
I was just gonna end with this. There's a lot of kind of get back to Mike's original point about how a lot of them, the sets, they look like they look like really nice movie sets or Hollywood sets. A lot of it they were actually big sets, like the Freeport scene. They have to that's a set, because then there's no cylinders that the time travel cylinder machine.
Oh yeah.
That they could, that's a big piece of the room, so they would have to recreate that. So they recreated that. The caves at the end where they're fighting in the caves when the bomb was about to go off, and just shooting on that yacht. There's just all these extravagant sets, and then also shooting on location. It gives you that real grandeur, big scale, almost Bond-esque film where there's no movie bigger than this.
Right. I could see that it pointing to that that kind of grand scale throughout the movie. I couldn't help. I do want to say actually one other good thing. I'm probably forgetting others, but I know we brought up a few really good things about the movie. But Kat, the character Kat, was actually a really good character. I mean, she really brought an emotional element to the movie that I think really helped the movie. And she was a good actor, actually. She did very well throughout the movie. And what was I gonna say? Her relationship with Sater, her husband, was very tense, and you could really feel it in their scenes together, and she just drew you in. Like, I feel like her story really kind of just draws you into the movie. And her kind of, I don't know, say revenge, or just feels pretty good by the end of the movie too. Without giving away too much about the story. But one thing I will say though is that the motivation, I think, which was really lacking in the movie, the motivation between her and Sater, or that the motivation of Sater. He was from a Russian city that had been, I guess, experimented on, right, with nuclear weapons or something like that. And he had this big desire, like, to control, and he wanted to basically end the world so that they could all suffer the way he suffered as a kid. If it's kind of what I'm remembering. Am I getting that right?
I think, yeah, I feel like that's not wrong. There's a lot of elements where, Sater, from what I got from his backstory, was that he basically was trying to inflict pain onto the world because, he had a cancer, and he had a rough upbringing, and he was trying to, like, I guess Kat, at some point in the movie, Kat says that, or he says it to Kat, that if I can't have you, nobody will, or nobody can.
Mm-hmm.
And Kat brings it up later and says, like, oh yeah, he's dying, and I think that's the point. Like, if he dies, basically the world goes with him. If he can't have the world, nobody can have it. And I mean, there's that whole global warming element as well, where it's like, well, we're trying to reverse, or the people in the future that are, sending him these time capsules so he can create his machine and, use the technology to invert his weapon. They want to reverse time so they can prevent humans from destroying the world.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's in a way, it's almost very. It's so big of an idea. It's like, even if they executed it, like, I'm kind of curious how it would go if Sater won. Like, what would happen? Like, would it be like an instantaneous thing that happens where everything's kind of wipes out, or how would that look? Because I know at the very end, Robert Pattinson's character Neil was talking about nobody cares about the bombs that didn't go off, the ones that did, and he's talking a little bit about like how nobody's going to know what they did, basically,
what they did,
how they saved the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because in a way it's like the stakes are there, but like you don't really see them because like, how does this work? You know what I mean? Like, in a traditional James Bond movie, it's like, oh, well, we're gonna nuke this place and millions of people are gonna die or whatever. And with this, it's like, okay, what if the bomb went off, the time capsule was enclosed, or what happens next? Does everything just automatically invert? Or is it? So I think it's, what I found interesting about it was that like the story is very linear, right? With the protagonist, it's a very linear story. It's not like Memento. It's not told in flashbacks. It's not told in. It's just told in a very linear way. We have to strap ourselves to protagonist and kind of just experience it moving forward. When even him moving forwards is him moving backwards as well, because he goes backwards and we go forwards back in time and stuff. So we're just following him, and we're hearing all this information, almost like a spy film, which is about information. It's not as visual as we would like it to be, except for a lot of the fight scenes that kind of help us understand how this is working. And I think that's why they had to create these type of rules where if you're going backwards, to them, the people that are backwards already see you as moving backwards, but you see them moving backwards. So it's like inverted is like the right way for it. Like they see you inverted and they see you, you see them inverted, they see you inverted. And unless you're just moving forwards and everything is forwards. But if you're going backwards, you're inverted and they're inverted. And it's just probably the easiest way to explain it. But I don't know. It's just it has a lot of those, and maybe that's why Nolan was like, okay, I could use the spy genre to kind of smear some of these lines, because it's basically a spy film with this whole time inversion. But I thought that was like maybe one of the, if I had any feedback to give Nolan, it would be like, how would it, what would this ending look like if they didn't save the world? What would happen? How would that happen? And do you feel like, maybe there should have been some type of example, like a large scale example of what could happen if maybe that fight scene at the end when they're in the battle zone, maybe that's like a little piece of the chocolate. Like, this is what could happen if, time is inverted and, time is also moving forward. So, they're both kind of conflicting with each other. Things are going off. People are, like guy gets trapped in the wall, or when they blew up that building. A lot of things moving forward and backwards. Crazy. Maybe there could have been like some type of large scale city example of that where,
people could see.
Yeah.
How much more time you got, by the way, Ricky? I know you got work and everything.
I got to be there around 2:00. So I mean, I could.
Okay.
I could talk for like maybe 10 more minutes, and then probably have to get going.
All right. Cool. Actually, there was one thing I did want to say. As far as the title of the movie, I wonder if, and this is me too, like, I like the title, actually. Overall, I like it because it makes sense. And by the end of the movie, it made sense, at least to me. But I almost wonder if some of these concepts, if there are too many concepts to look into within the movie, and the title being one of them. And I wonder if the title was different, like, because in my mind, what I was thinking of was like Future Cop or something. Like, this is like a Time Cop, or something about that would give a visual to people going into the movie, kind of getting a preparation, of what they're about to experience. That was a little more obvious, I guess. And so I just wonder in my mind, that's kind of a thought I had, is like, what if the titles I gave are bad, would be bad titles, I think, for this movie, but they're just examples of kind of ways that it's like, oh, okay, well, you get an idea right away of what the movie's going to be about. And I wonder if that would have helped this movie in the box office. I don't know. Did it flop in the box office, or did it do fine?
I wouldn't say it flopped. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. It definitely made its money back. Okay. I don't know. It didn't break any records or anything like that, but I think if anything, it broke some pandemic records.
Okay.
I mean, which is funny because
that's good.
It's one of our first pandemics that we've ever experienced, and I think it's I don't know what Nolan was trying to do. I think Nolan was trying to get people back into the movie theaters and kind of keep the film economy going. I think that's what his main intention was, because for the longest time they wanted him to just kind of like, hey, we want you to sit on this for a bit. You know, a lot of things got pushed back. Dune was supposed to come out last year, got pushed back to this December. I mean, a lot of these movies that we're seeing now on HBO Max are, you know, they're films that were supposed to come out last year, and we're seeing them now. I actually like the name Tenet. I mean, when I saw the trailer originally, I saw the teaser. When I saw, it's a little embarrassing, but I went to go see Hobbs and Shaw, and you know, I mean, I'm like, whatever, right? I'll watch anything.
Yeah.
But and Hobbs and Shaw is not a bad movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
I thought it has some good stuff in it.
It's just one of those, you know what you're getting into when you go see that movie.
Right.
Like, okay, nothing serious is going to happen here, but it's just going to be a fun ride. You know, leave your brain at home, kind of thing. But with Tenet, I mean, the only reason why I went to see that movie was because of the teaser, and I knew there was a teaser that wasn't online or anything like that. So,
cool. Okay.
That was one of the reasons why I went to go see it. And I was just so into, like, the teaser was one of those teasers that was like the Spider-Man teaser, basically, where I don't know if you ever saw the original Spider-Man teaser where there were some bank robbers.
That was the coolest.
Yeah, where they robbed a bank, and then they're flying in a helicopter and they get trapped in Spider-Man's web when the Twin Towers existed. And you know,
remember that.
Spider-Man stops them. I compare it to that teaser because that, I mean, obviously it didn't make the cut for a lot of reasons, you know, one being because 9/11, but I kind of compared that teaser, the original Nolan teaser, to that because you know, he's in that chamber or whatever at the Freeport. And if you haven't seen it, the original teaser, you should check it out. But yeah, he just walks into that chamber in the Freeport and he's like inspecting the bullets, and we see it like 3 times happen, the same thing. And each time we see it, he gets a little bit closer and closer. And you can tell he's like inverted, right? He goes up to the window, he's checking out the bullet, and the smoke is moving backwards. And you can tell his movement's a little weird, like he's inverted. And that's not in the movie, but I felt like that was such a great little example to kind of explain what we were going to see.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a good little teaser. And they also showed like the prologue scene with the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker in December of that year. I went to go see Skywalker just because of that. You know what I mean? Like, obviously just to see what was going to end with this, you know, how the Star Wars movies were going to end. But I mean, that was like the highlight of why I was going. I went to IMAX to go check it out. I was so excited because I had never seen, you know, anything like that before. With I think they showed the scene where like Neo shoots one of the cops or one of the SWAT members, and you know, or with the inverted bullet, and the bullet basically comes back out of the seat into the SWAT member and saves the protagonist.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, those are all. I mean, I could talk about this again. Maybe we should do a second part to the podcast, or I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can look into doing that. I think. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the movie, or as far as to wrap it before we wrap it up this time around?
No, I think, I mean, for people out there listening, or for anyone that's interested in Tenet, you know, I definitely would recommend reading the book that came out for the film. They made like a big old copy book of the movie, and it talks about from everything from development to pre-production, production, post-production, you know, everything. It's pretty dense. It's a good little read. It has a lot of great pictures behind the scenes, you know, artwork of the set, and they talk a lot about basically if you bought the 2-disc Blu-ray or whatever, there's a good hour making of the film in that as well. Kind of, it's basically just the video format of what's in that book. But if anyone's really interested in Nolan, there's another book. I think it's by Michael Shore. I think that's his name. But if you forget the author's name, the book is called The Variations of Nolan, and it goes through Nolan's entire career, his upbringing. This guy did a lot of extensive interviews with Nolan and
cool.
throughout his life. Been working on the book a long time, so it's a really interesting read. But I would just say that.
Okay.
Oh, and if anyone's really interested in his stuff, check out his first film, Following. You can probably find it on YouTube or in the Criterion Collection. And I'm done talking, but it's been a pleasure talking with you and Mike. And hope to do it again, maybe.
Yeah, man, definitely. We'll definitely do this again. And we were also looking into doing some stuff on different topics as well, and not just movies. So maybe we can have you back for something like that too, which I think you'd be real interested in and would have fun doing. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on with us. And I will say too, yeah, this is I'm glad that Nolan is trying different things, and he went solo on this, and I like that you can definitely see he's pushing himself, and from everything you've explained too, and really trying to see what he can make on his own. Was that's a challenge, and I'm glad he's doing that. It's cool to see that he's doing that as a director, and I think what I like about seeing movies like this is, they usually learn from it, from the movies they make, and I think he's one who will definitely take this experience and be cool to see what he does with what he's learned and everything next, in his next movie. So, all right, Mike, are you there? I'm not sure what happened with Mike. He's still in our meeting, but
interesting.
Yeah,
maybe something similar happened. You know what I mean? Like how he was in the chat earlier, but then maybe he couldn't hear us, or maybe we can't hear him. But it was a pleasure meeting you, Mike. And I hope we could do this again. And maybe like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm off one of those days. Maybe later in the day after work or something. We could talk about another movie. But
cool.
Yeah, it was good talking to y'all.
Same here, man. And everyone, thanks for listening in on the podcast. We, as always, we invite everyone to join the conversation in the comments. Let us know what you think of Tenet. Anything you just want to share about Nolan as well. And let us know. And then like and subscribe. We appreciate it. Ricky, check out his YouTube channel. He's he has a few of his short films on there. It's called Blame the Movies, and we'll put a link in the description too, and in the comments or something like that for y'all to check it out. And he's working on a new film right now. He just finished, and I got to play a little part in it. When that comes out, we'll let you know. We'll do something to let everyone know just where they can check it out.
Yeah, maybe we could do a review on that movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll find something to do and let everyone know where to check that movie out. And but yeah, thanks. You also have Instagram too, right?
I do. Okay, so I'm gonna just put this out there. I kind of dropped the ball on my YouTube account and all that stuff. But yeah, you could definitely check out my channel or whatever. But it's not. I don't have a lot of my recent stuff on there. Like the newest film we made, and I have this other idea. But I mean, if y'all want to check it out, cool, check it out. But yeah, I kind of left that on a hiatus there was a point in my life where I was really heavy in YouTube, and now I'm just kind of doing stuff more for festivals and, trying to do it that way. But I'm planning on making another short film in the summer and showing where I'm at, I guess, creatively and technically and everything. So that if y'all are interested, subscribe. There should be some new film coming out in July, and I already have a title for it. It's called Contained, but we just haven't shot it yet.
Well, awesome. All right. Well, we'll see. This is Film Juice, and we'll see everyone next time.
All right. See ya.